Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we would like to welcome you to our live webinar on Customer Service Essentials on social media. I'm Talal Sayer, your host for today. This is an interactive webinar where we'll help you understand how is it that you can use social media to improve your customer service experience. Our speaker will be presenting a few tips that I'm sure would work wonders. Now, before I introduce our expert for today, I'd like to share a few basic housekeeping rules. The recording and the presentation deck of this session will be sent to all the participants in the next few days. We would like you to submit your questions as we will be answering them in our Q&A session after the presentation. We have uploaded a number of useful handouts for you so that you can download them from the Handouts tab on your GoToWebinar toolbar. We would also like to encourage you to spread the word of this webinar using our hashtag CS trainings and tweeting about this. Now let me introduce you to our expert trainer for today's webinar, Saad Tariq. Saad Tariq has been developing and customizing a range of soft skill and customer service training workshops. He's an accomplished, dynamic, and client-driven training professional with sound knowledge of what technology has to offer when it comes to customer service. Now, without any further delay, I will pass you on to Saad.
Hello everyone. As you know, we're here to talk about social media and customer service. I'm sure that all of us would have a basic understanding of both. So let us start by understanding the importance of both. I would like to draw your attention to something I read somewhere, and now when I come to think about it, I believe this is so true. Customer service is the new marketing. With people becoming more and more aware of what exceptional service is and having more to choose from, customer service has become pivotal for any business's success. Let's look at a few numbers to further strengthen the idea. Did you know that 86% of consumers quit doing business with a company because of bad customer experience? Now that is a staggering number to start with. The research also tells us that on average, 9 people talk about good experiences and nearly 16, which is twice the number, talk about bad experiences. Consumers have become more impatient, as a result of which expectations are higher than they were a few years back. Let's look at some numbers to see what these social customers are all about. Now these numbers, they vary depending on the social media platform being used. We'll talk about Facebook first. 46% of consumers want to engage with brands via Facebook to solve problems, and you'll be surprised to know that 29% of them would expect a response within 2 hours of their post. On the other hand, Twitter, 81% of the users expect a same-day response, whereas 30% of them expect a response within 30 minutes. Now, research shows that more than 1 million people view tweets about customer service every week. And sadly, 80% of customer service tweets are negative or critical in nature. Now, you'll be surprised to know that 88% of consumers are influenced by reading reviews on the internet, which means on average one social customer will tell 42 other people about a company. So all this points to one thing, and that is that companies, in order to progress and retain customers, need to be active and smart about how they use social media channels. Let's look at a 4-step process that would help make life much easier when it comes to deciding on how to respond to customers on social media. Step 1, you need to change the mindset from me to us. Now, in business, the first battle is of the mindset. Remember, when people complain about the company or about something that didn't go right, they're talking about that experience and they're not talking about you as an individual. The best way to change that mindset is to align your goals with your customers' goals and think as if both of you want the same thing out of this predicament. Let me share an example of what happened when a customer complained about something online. Now, this customer complained about the quality of the furniture she got after ordering it from an online store. In response to her concern, she got a generic email asking for her to call a helpline for some specials they had going on, to which the customer got more upset and posted her experience on Facebook. Now the company replied on Facebook and apologized for the generic email and asked her to forward the order number so they can personally look into it. This is how companies need to change their mindsets from me to us. Step 2, gain or retain. Understanding the relationship a customer has with your company is an important step before framing your conversation. Knowing this relationship will allow you to understand if he or she is a current customer or a prospect. Once you're able to figure that out, you can establish your end goal for that communication, which is whether you want to gain or retain. I'm sure we all know how quick Samsung is when it comes to responding to customers on social media. This guy, he got in touch with Samsung on social media. He owned 2 Samsung mobiles, a TV, and other appliances. He asked Samsung for a free S3 for all the purchases he had made. And with that, there was a sketch of a fire-throwing dinosaur. Now, Samsung got back to him with an S3, and the same sketch of the dinosaur was on the back cover. And they thanked the customer for giving them so much business. So for Samsung, they were able to retain this customer, and it was only by identifying that he was an existing customer asking for something that would guarantee him being a loyal customer forever. Now, step 3 is you need to set the priority right. For companies with a high volume of interaction on social media, it is pivotal for them to prioritize their time appropriately. The best way to prioritize is to scale your customer on their emotional state and devise a response accordingly. Now, this scale would mostly consist of 3 dimensions. The first one is that the customer is unhappy, which is the most critical one. As they say, the news of bad customer experience travels faster than that of good one. Airlines are no stranger to customer complaints, and it may come to you as a surprise that AirAsia and JetBlue are one of the forerunners when it comes to companies that listen to their unhappy customers and try to help them out on social media. AirAsia shares links and useful information with their customers on social media. They also tend to take discussions offline if the customer is irate and has escalated the issue at hand. The second dimension is that the customer is happy, which is important, but not something that requires your immediate attention. But it does require you to be smart about how you'd like to end the conversation by leaving the door open. Once I read about this steakhouse that got a complimentary steak for a customer who was traveling back home. Now this customer tweeted about how he would like to have a steak as soon as he lands, and guess what? When he landed, a server from the steakhouse was waiting for him with the steak, and that too without any bills. Now the third one is when the customer is neutral. This is important as they would eventually end up being on one side of the fence or the other, which is that whatever you say would either make them happy or unhappy. So it is very important for you to make the most of this opportunity. Some restaurants are very particular about this. I know this guy who once shared that he ordered brown rice and he got white rice on Facebook, where he also mentioned that he didn't mind it, but he was just letting the restaurant know. In response to this, the company asked for the order number so they could investigate and see what went wrong. The act of them showing concern over something that the customer didn't mind helped them win a customer over and everyone else who had seen that post. Now, step 4 is that you respond accordingly. Once you've gone through all the steps we have talked about, you're ready to reply to the customer. And remember, it is very important to understand your customer and their experiences with your company. Experts say that whenever a customer has been identified to be an unhappy one, the conversation or communication should be taken offline. Once you've come up with the solution and the customer is a happy one, then broadcast the story everywhere you can to attract more people. On the other hand, if you have a happy customer sharing his experience on social media, go ahead and share it with all and make sure you respond to them online so that everyone knows. Remember, your interaction with your customers online comes down to how you improvise and make the most of the opportunity being presented to you. Now, we've already talked about an effective plan on how to respond appropriately to customers online. Now, let me give you some pointers on how to be efficient with your responses and make your presence felt on social media. The most important thing about this is that no matter how embarrassed or frustrated you feel when a customer complains on social media, you should always respond. 83% of customers who tweet complaints, they love it when companies respond. Now I keep a checklist of things that I need to remember while responding to customers on social media. Let me go through that checklist with you guys. So the first thing that I make sure is that I'm always looking for faster response times. It's very important that you always try to get better with your response times, as consistent, quick responses would help build a positive image of your company on social media. Now the second thing on my checklist is that you be human and at times apply humor. It is very important to sound human when you respond to customers on their posts and tweets. A natural and human response with some humor adds value to the interaction with the customer. Step 3. Don't be defensive. Remember, the customer is upset about their experience and they're not taking it out on you. They want you as a company to do something about it. We're all human and prone to mistakes. So don't try to put a wall in front of your mistakes and admit them. As customers, they love human companies. Now the fourth thing on my checklist is that you always thank your customer. Remember, it is important to thank customers for all the feedback, whether good or bad, as that would help you get better at what you do and help build a better relationship with your customer. And the last thing on my checklist is suggest a solution to the problem. Customers are always looking for solutions to the problems they highlight. They want companies to be the ones giving solutions and giving them the power to choose from whatever the company has to offer. With this checklist, you'll be able to improve the level of interaction you have with your customers on social media. I would also like to share some valuable tips that would help your company improve the overall plan for social media, for social customer service, and help you make the most of it. So first of all, you need to listen to your customer and build relationships with them. Second is that you have to have a detailed crisis management plan. Always have a plan on how to deal with escalations. And then another very important point is that you designate at least one member of your company to be available 24/7 on social media. Now this depends on the size of your company and the social media interaction your company has. Then after that comes commit random acts of wow for your customers. Now I can guarantee you that this works wonders. And the last one is always provide useful links and information at the end of each response, because you want the customer to know more about your company. Now with these tips, you'll be able to enhance your customer service skills on social media platforms. Let me tell you something about customerservice.ae. We at customerservice.ae are always working on new ideas on how to improve the overall experience of a customer with the company they're dealing with. Our expert trainers and professionals working in the field of customer service devise and formulate ideas and processes that can help companies do better with their interactions with customers and help them build better customer relationships. We have identified that social media is a very important and widely used tool for customers to interact with companies, and hence we have been working on techniques that can help your CES staff understand the basics of it and implement these tried and tested practices to make the most of what they do with the customers on these social media platforms. Our customized workshops on social media, on customer service essentials for social media, are designed in such a way that they'll equip your customer service staff with all the right tools to be more efficient and effective and get more results out of these social interactions with the customers, using the concept of experiential learning.
Great, thanks, Fad. If you'd like to know more about our program and games, please feel free to get in touch with us via email on trainings@customerservice.ae. Now we would like to open the floor for questions. As I can see, we have a lot of them coming in. So, Saad, let's start with the first one. What is the ideal response time on Facebook?
Now that is a very good question. As discussed during the presentation as well, the ideal response time to any post on Facebook or on Twitter or any other social media platform is as soon as you can. But you need to make sure that whatever you do will then become an expectation, and you need to be very careful about that. So respond as soon as you can, but make sure that you can be consistent with it.
Brilliant. Let's move on to our next question. How do you deal with angry customers on social media?
Another interesting one. The best way to deal with angry customers is that you take the conversation offline and personalize it, as it is very important for you to make the customer feel as if they're being heard, and you are making an effort to de-escalate the situation and make it up to the customer. Now, most companies would prefer taking these conversations offline, so I believe that would be a good start. And then you can always come up with your own way of improvising and making an unhappy customer praise you for how you deal with them.
Great. Let's move on to our next question. What are the best techniques for customer engagement on social media?
Another interesting one. There are a lot of different techniques that help you engage customers on social media, and they vary from what type of product or services you're selling. Primarily, it comes down to how you present yourself on social media platforms and how you want the customers to see you. One of the best practices are that you keep posting useful things about how your customers can benefit from your products and services. And remember, don't overdo this, as customers might not pay attention. So come up with something new and post it in such a way that you create a buzz or an excitement for your customers to know more about it. Another way of doing it is that you have short surveys and ask your customers about what they feel like and share that on social media. But this is something that you need to be very careful about, as this can backfire as well.
Okay, great, Sal. We have a lot more questions, but unfortunately, due to time, we can only take one last question. So let me pick a question from one of our attendees. How frequently should I post support tips for my customers on my Facebook page?
Now this is a very good follow-up question to the last one. I believe you should post support tips for your customers regularly, as this would help reinforce your brand image while your customers are scrolling through their newsfeed. And educating your customers on how to make the most of your products or services helps boost sales and satisfaction levels when it comes to the marketing bit as well.
Great. I would like to thank you, Saad, for an exceptionally wonderful presentation on social media and customer service. And I would like to thank you all as the attendants for attending our session today. I'd like to remind you to keep following us at CS Trainings, the hashtag, and make sure to visit our website for upcoming webinars. Thank you so much and goodbye.